I got it. Okay, Christina, we are recording. Peace and blessings, everyone. We're talking really fast right now because this is what, like the third time we've tried to do this. Welcome back to my channel, Queen Osset here. Welcome my guest, Christina. You guys,
Hello,
you know,
everybody.
yes. Today we're going to do a little spiel talk discussion about El Dia de los Muertos and the ancestors. And it seems like the ancestors have been having a lot of fun at our expense today. Yeah. So before we get started, I've got a glass of water here for them. I'm going to light a candle for them. I'm going to say a little prayer. Probably like, how could you be talking about us? You don't even offer us a drink first. I, you know, yes. Anyway, um, oh, I would say emoji bar, but here, I have something. I have I have a prayer.
All right.
We're gonna do this. Okay, we're gonna do this, and maybe, maybe, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Deep in the ocean lays your spirit as you cross the Atlantic Ocean from Nigeria, Mali, Guinea, Benin, Togo, Congo, Ghana, Ivory Coast, and the Dahomey, bearing the pain, torture, and atrocities of the transatlantic slave trade. I prayed to the ancestors who were ill and whose bodies were inflicted with pain, beaten, and thrown off the slave ship into the ocean. I prayed to the ancestors whose spirits who could not bear witness any longer and threw themselves into the ocean. I prayed to the ancestors whose bodies made it to Cuba, Jamaica, Trinidad, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Haiti, and various parts of the Caribbean and North and South America. It is to these ancestors we humbly are grateful for the preservation of our traditions. I pray that your spirits have found the light and a resting place of Olodumare, Olofi, and Olorun. I pray that the spirits of the women, men, and children of African descent who endured the torment and torture will be healed and reincarnated into a higher and greater spirit. I pray that as your spirits are elevated, that I may be enlightened and evolve towards my destiny and progress in this lifetime. As I remember your spirits, I remember all those who are deceased in my family and ancestral line. Ibaye. They are strengthened by my supplications, and their spirits are heightened by my affirmations and faith in Udumare's prayer and Olodumara's power. May they have forgiveness in their heart. May I have forgiveness in my heart. May they have peace. May I have peace. May they have healing. May I also have healing. May they have understanding. May they evolve and heal the karmic residue of their forgotten past. May I evolve and heal my spirit. May I be in remembrance always of my path and what Olopi has ordained for me. May I be in remembrance of what my Ori has witnessed on this journey through my living. May I be in remembrance to uphold my egun, that I may evolve and be uplifted. Let them be uplifted now. Ashe, ashe, ashe. And I'm going to call on a few of my ancestors. And Christina, I'm going to ask you to call on a few of yours. After we say their names, we say Ibaye, meaning may they be lifted.
You bye.
And okay, so Alan, Alan Ibaye, Adam Ibaye, Margaret Ibaye, Anita Ibaye, Samuel Ibaye, Nathaniel Ibaye, Mahida Ibaye, Mortimer Ibaye, Gwendolyn Ibaye, Esther Ibaye, Rosa Ibaye, Lillian Ibaye, Evelyn, Ibaye, Lorenzo, Ibaye, Joyce, Ibaye, Vida, Ibaye, Doreen, Ibaye, Irene, Ibaye, Cleveland, Ibaye, Bernice, Ibaye, May, Ibaye, Daphne, Ibaye, Victor, Ibaye, and George. George, Ibaye, Ibaye, Ibaye. Okay, Christina.
All right. Mauricio Ibaye. Manolo Ibaye. Leonor Ibaye. Fresnedo Ibaye. McDaniel Ibaye. Alcántara Ibaye. Moore Ibaye. Yela Ibaye. Hernando Ibaye. García Ibaye. Cristobal Ibaye. Ibaye, Ibaye.
Ibaye. So, whew. We had a lot to say earlier, right? Wow. Okay, today is El Dia de los Muertos. No. Today, well, it's considered part of it, but it's not. So you want to go ahead and give us like a better understanding of what today is?
So today, November 1st, is the first day or the first part of the celebration of El Dia de los Muertos in Mexican, Latin, and maybe South America as well, and for all the other people in the world who celebrate as well. Today we celebrate for the angelitos, the little ones, are the children ancestors. I think we talked earlier about how we have children ancestors who sometimes can be more mature than some others. We have Mauricio, and I know you have Alan.
Alan, yeah.
And so today we would usually, on our ofrendas, we would put out some milk. I have some milk on my altar right now. Things have been very, very funky, so I'm going to leave it over there just in case.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Along with maybe some toys, some sweets, and maybe some little shoes because, you know, kids in their little booties.
Right.
And then the second day is dedicated to just El Dia de los Muertos, the honoring of the ancestors in general. And we set up our ofrendas, which can have many layers. It can be tiered. It can be very small, depending on where you live. And we have different things on the altar. We have photos.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I like to put an empty frame just in case there are those that, you know, I don't know who they are, or they're lost or forgotten. So some of the names that I gave are just last names because I don't know the first names of some of my ancestors, but we have a list of their last names. So I at least have that to connect with them in some way. Then we have flowers, which are the yellow, gold, orange cempasúchil or cempasúchil, and in English, the marigold.
Right.
And these we will often take the petals and create a path to lead the ancestors to the altar. Then we like to have food, you know, because the ancestors like their food, their favorite things, their drinks. So I was going to prepare this for tomorrow, but because of things that was going on,
right,
prepared a little in advance. I have some tequila because my abuelito and some of my ancestors from Spain, they love their tequila with some salt, a little bit of lime juice, got some chocolate. You need some sweetness.
Yeah.
And we also have the quintessential for all of your ancestors, your pan de muerto.
Oh, yes. I have one of those too that you have given to me. Thank you very much. Here's mine.
And this is just an overall offering for your ancestors. And sometimes it can be a little inconvenient, especially if you're in a small place or if you have a lot of wandering stubby fingers and furry friends. Sometimes having food, like actual food on the altar, can be a little messy. So we sometimes make clay versions of the favorite foods. It makes it easy, and
That's interesting. I find that fascinating that you would have clay, pretend food to put on your ofrenda, your ancestor altar. So
So
one of the
if
questions,
kids have like play food and stuff, I mean, you can use that.
wow, wow. That's so for anyone who may be concerned about vermin issues, I guess, and like you said, pets and such like that.
Or if you have
Then that's,
roommates
I guess,
that are nosy and stuff.
right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Because one of the things that we do, well, we put food, we cook for our ancestors. So for us, we don't wait until November 1st and 2nd for our ancestors. This is a year-round thing for us. And instead of marigolds, well, it all depends. Like on your lineage, we could put marigolds on our altar. But for those of us who are just starting out, you are encouraged to use white flowers, which would be carnations, right? Carnations, white flower, simple candle, and a glass of water.
Nice.
Right? And one of the things I had, you could put down, like if you know the ancestor, the person who transitioned, if you knew that they liked chocolate, cigars, alcohol, you can put all of that on there as well, right? But to just start, white candle, glass of water, and some white flowers on a white cloth, and that's it. Okay? And if you feel compelled, then you put down some food and you leave it on there for maybe a day, 2 days, it all depends. You have to go, this is where you really quiet your ego and listen to something else and allow yourself to develop that connection, right? So the ofrenda is just put up, it's just constructed with this time of the year. Yeah. Okay.
The photos will stay out, I mean, year long. And I'm sure people around their birthdays, if they know, or their anniversaries when they transitioned, they may put a little offering there. But the ofrenda itself is specifically for the holiday. And we will also put out candles. Now, with colonization and the coming of the Europeans into Mexican and Latin American culture, especially the indigenous, things were adapted, assimilated, and changed to make it easier to convert the people to Catholicism and Christianity. And so new elements started to get added to the altar, such as the addition of Guadalupe. I mean, she is considered like the bridge between the colonials and the colonials from Spain with the indigenous people. But she is a saint that represents that transition.
Okay.
Then we also have the Katrina and the Katrina, which does have working back to indigenous Mexican mythology and folklore. And then we also have the skulls, the calaveras.
Yes. Let me grab mine. Did I give you a set of these black and white ones?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yours are the colored version.
So I have a set in black and white too.
So something interesting that Queen and I were talking about earlier is how certain aspects of different cultures, especially in places like America, where there's so many people from different places, is that things are starting to blend, meld, and maybe not being taken as authentically as it could.
Right.
And the image of the skull, the calavera, is one of the quintessentials. I mean, you see it everywhere. Like it's on clothing, it's on incense. It's become part of the American or westernized pop culture. Now, people, yeah, which is interesting because roses are not usually associated with the calavera. It's, you know, the marigold.
Oh, right.
So that is another aspect that has kind of been added, maybe by
Mm-hmm.
tattoo culture, maybe by just Western culture in general. So that
Mm-hmm.
shows where, you know, some of the division lies. So some of my skulls that I have. So this is a beaded skull done by the Huicholes,
Uh-huh.
and they are a tribe like in the desert. I think they're more in the north.
Okay.
And so they work with geometric patterns, which usually try to tell some sort of story. And that's what I love about the calaveras is that they tell a story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is one of my favorite ones. It tells the story of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as you can see, the face is not as painted as the one that Queen showed, because that
Right.
wasn't even the Katrinas. Um, their faces wouldn't be painted. They were just a skeleton
I
wearing very
see.
fanciful clothing.
Right.
The idea of
Oh,
the face.
so
Mhm.
this, yeah.
Yeah, let me find a picture of the Posada Katrina. So it was just, like
Hmm.
I'm sure people have seen this image before.
Yeah.
So this is a Katrina. It's just a skeleton, no painted faces.
Gotcha.
It is what it is.
Okay.
So the the painting of the calavera face may have come within our culture over time, but I have seen it more in this westernized pop version of it.
Okay.
And I mean, it's an art form where people can explore, you know, and people use it as a, like a beauty trend because you see everybody painting themselves as Katrinas. And
Mm-hmm.
but those are examples of symbols within a context that have been assimilated and modified to fit a new culture.
Like,
Yeah. So this is
so,
like the Western Katrina, like the American pop. Mm-hmm.
okay. Um, this says La Muerte, and it's just a skeleton here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, hmm. What about that?
So is that Sacerdotista? Do you know who that reminds me of? That reminds me of
Who?
Morticia Adams from the Adams family,
Yeah, exactly.
which
Hmm.
so the person who made that deck, I think
Right.
they combined the image of the skeleton, the calavera with Western pop culture because I think there's also an image of Willy Wonka in there. I'm
Uh,
pretty sure. Like the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka.
yeah, yeah, El Loco. Is
Yeah.
that?
Mm-hmm. So it's like it's that example that I gave where it's, you know, things are combining and blending together.
Right.
Would I say
So,
that that is like a Spanish speaking culturally appropriate, not appropriate, but um authentic version? Probably not. But does it fit with the Western idea of this or the Americanized pop culture version? Yeah.
okay, because this is just a majors only deck that is named Dia de los Muertos Tarot. So you would say that this is not in a line with
Mm-mm.
the
I wouldn't.
holiday.
Yeah.
Not. So I think that they actually renamed it to,
Yeah, I think that was a smart decision because Tarot de los Muertos is just the Tarot of the Dead, which I can completely understand that. So that was probably a smart decision on their end.
yeah. And then of course, we have this one.
Mm-hmm.
And we know, well, it says ofrenda means gift,
Mm-hmm.
offerings, but again, it's the
Mm-hmm. It's mainly focusing on the Katrina, the aspect.
pop culture of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But not the holiday, not the reverence of it, not the
No,
celebration of it,
which
right? So
is strange because the essence of El Dia de los Muertos is connecting yourself with the ancestors. And so if a deck were to be made for El Dia de los Muertos,
right,
it would need to be an ancestor deck.
it would be an answer.
It would have to be an ancestor deck.
Nothing to do with La Calavera.
I mean, the calavera can be in there, but it should not be the focus of it. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, for example, the soul, alma. I know for where for I'm from Mexico, and so we believe that the soul is sometimes represented as the monarch butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will say only warriors can be the butterflies, but
Okay.
hey, aren't we all warriors in a way?
Right. On some level, yeah, yeah.
So that's where like the truly like the authenticity of connecting back to the core of the holiday, that would be where it could come in.
Okay.
But what these decks show, I think, is how these people, these deck creators or the artists, how they connect to this pop culture versionized Day of the Dead or the calavera, because that's really all that I see is the calavera.
Right. So these are not considered ancestral.
I
Ancestral.
I would
in
not
this sense.
consider them ancestral.
Um. Hmm. Oh, one other icon that tends to be big this time of year, La
Ah,
Santa Muerte.
mhm.
La Santa Muerte. Not connected to the Day of the Dead.
No, the Santa Muerte is a saint, and Santa Muerte has their own feast day.
Yeah.
Generally, I think there may be similar roots of the image of the Santa Muerte with the Catherine and the Katrina, with the
Mm-hmm.
Overlord of the Dead in indigenous folklore mythology, but they are separate. So I don't think I've ever seen Santa Muerte on your altar, on the ofrenda,
Yeah.
like for El Dia
Right.
de los Muertos.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Not for Day of the Dead. Right. Yeah. La Santa Muerte. She doesn't belong on. That's an energy that does not belong on your ancestor altar. Right.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, that's kind of like the same premise with us. Like Egun, ancestors, and Orisha are separate.
Mhm.
So for the most part, you're not going to put Orisha on what we call your boveda with your ancestors. You just, they're separate. So even when we're engaging with our ancestors, if we do a misa, we take, like, if you notice today, I'm talking about the ancestors. I'm not wearing my leques,
Mhm.
right? I'm not wearing my leques today. This is my mask. I do have my ide on,
Mhm.
but it always stays on. But for them, I don't have my leques. There's a certain things we do because we want to make the distinct separation between this side and that side,
Mhm.
And we would have a story. We have a patiki for that as well. We do a lot to make sure that we stay in alignment with this side. But then, like I said, for us, Ancestor Reverence isn't just relegated to November 1st and 2nd. Okay. So one of the things that I had for people who are just chiming in, when you first came on, I said an ancestor prayer because that's something that we should have done from the beginning. Like I see that now. I just it happens for as long as you've been doing this. You know what I mean? You can still get. I guess because we used to I'm used to being in a certain setting and all of that, right? And just being very casual about things. Um, but this is what they wanted. So hey, um, uh, for someone who has so much to say a few hours ago, right? Um, it's wild. This is, I guess, where the humbleness comes in, because I was just really excited. I wanted to share this with people. We do have a prayer called a mojiba, and I mentioned this the other night as well, which is a distinct prayer for the ancestors. And as you were saying, calling out your ancestor's name, I was shaking this. There's a staff. Sterling said he calls his a stang. I think ours is called like an egg, egba, I'm gonna have to check. Don't hold me on that. But it's a stick that you use to hit the ground with, right? As you're calling the names, you hit the ground with that, and it's not to wake them up. I was saying this before. It's to basically let them know I am ready to engage with you, right? You do that. You do that rapping or clapping if you don't have anything to knock on and such. I know some people might use a bell, but we don't use a bell for that. We have something else, maybe what we call an agogo. Usually the bell is to call in the arisha. Mm-hmm. So we tend to use the stick for the ancestors. Let me see. Oh, yes. So if you come to work with me, you want to have an understanding of what this is all about. Your ancestors, I will always tell you to go to your ancestors, to start working with your ancestors. Your ancestors are your first line of defense before anything else, okay? Before getting in touch with deity, before trying to understand that, right? These people, you want to have that connection. And if you do enough work, you'll probably find that you share an ancestry with a lot of people across the board. And you might say, oh, I don't know my people, or we had a falling out, or I'm disengaged from my people, we don't talk anymore, and that's fine. You can just say, my ancestors known and unknown, right? One of the things we like to believe is that our ancestors change as they make their transition. Their personalities, who they are, they change as they move to the other side, like they've learned they've learned their lessons. Another thing is that not everyone who transitions becomes an ancestor either, right? It's a big responsibility to take on the role of being an ancestor. That means you're providing guidance to people who are on this side, and not everyone that's not their role. It's for them to move on to the next life, the next place, the next phase and such. So what else do we have, Christina, for today?
Well, you touched a little bit on those. So for people who may not know, like for example, if you're adopted or if something happened where you don't know about your family, like for people who were misplaced from their homes, entire cultures, entire peoples who were taken from their homes and basically lost any sense of identity in this realm, you can always, take the chance to get to know them.
Yes. Yes.
I think we've gotten a message twice today of do your research in regards to ancestors.
Exactly.
And it's not just going on ancestry.com and looking that up. It's see what comes up. We sometimes like to think that we are the originator of a specific idea or characteristic in the family. I'm the first tree hugger.
Right.
Maybe somebody in your past loved nature too. And maybe that's where it's coming from. And then what to do about ancestors who are maybe the oppressors of other ancestors. And how do we honor them from a place of, or should we even honor them from a place of like mindfulness or?
Well, it all depends on how you define honor, right? So we define honor as giving people a pat on the back and kudos. Okay. And I don't think it's honor. I think it's more acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if you share blood with the oppressor. That's still a part of you. And you can't deny that. You should not deny that. Everyone has a story, as we like to say. Everyone has a reason for the choices that they made. And we have to be, you learn as you go along your path to be a little bit more mindful as to how you're going to treat that, you know? So I don't like this phone day. I'm sorry. I
It's
don't like
okay.
this. I guess.
I mean, the key is in it either way, so it doesn't matter.
I know. Do you see the light going in and out behind me?
Yeah. Is that just the lighting in the store, or is that?
No. I don't know if it's the camera adjusting itself
So we switch
or
the phone and there's still
still activity, right? Still. It doesn't, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what? I don't understand. This is bizarre. Bizarre.
Is there something like, do we need to do a card pull to see if there's something that needs to be said? Or?
Oh gosh. From what? The ancestor deck?
I don't know. Like, should I just pull the closest thing to me?
Yes, go ahead. Let's see what needs to be said. I'm going to see. Why not? Oh my gosh. I know that the beginning of the year, I took several of the tarotistas to see my babalao, and many of them need to have what we call a misa, so we can put together their ancestral quadrant. So we still, because of COVID, we haven't been able to do that. I'm kind of hoping that we can start to get together in small numbers. Even that, you know, even COVID has had us redefine how we practice. You know, Ifa, Santeria, Lukumi is these are communal practices. This is not, number one, it's not solitary. And number two, you don't practice like in isolation. We come together in groups to work, right? And COVID has distanced us from that. Maybe if I was in, you know, Cuba or Trinidad, even Nigeria, you know, where I lived in the village, I wouldn't be so affected. But here in the diaspora, we don't have that close-knit village like that. Some places, maybe up in New York, you might find that. But I know where I am here. Okay, so yeah. So the card that I pulled is the listener and the feeler. It comes up again. Christina, look.
Did it come up again?
Look at this one. The ancestor speaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Because the message that I have here for me is the listener, hearing messages beyond this realm. Spirit speaks to me and voices of other people speak through me. So that speaks on my mediumship.
Excellent.
Yeah, that is. And maybe that's what's happening with all of this. So yeah, initiation, the passing on of wisdom and such.
I think that goes along with this one. So Kalaratri, which refers to the things that come at night, the messages, the truths that come at night. So if people have been having like funky dreams lately, or just they're extremely restless at night, maybe we need to be more mindful about what's going on in our minds at night, what messages, because that may be the time that those messages are trying to come through, or those truths are trying to come through.
Yeah. I also have an underlying energy of protecting myself. Yeah. Let me see. Hold that up. I'm making it big. Oh my gosh.
This is where you take on the, like, you go back to being a child and just let yourself be taken care of by your mother.
Yeah.
And in this case, it can be your ancestors. Like, it's time to.
Right. Okay, I would say what is going on, but I'm going to tell you, I feel like energetic. See, it's Sterling because he's got the smirk on his face.
You knew it from the beginning.
Sterling's got that smirk on his face. You know, if I was a different sort of person, I would say, what is going on? Like, what's happening? But, I mean, yesterday, today, at the collective energy that we are operating in anyway. So we're dealing with some things that are moving around, shifting around, you know, things that are being gotten rid of, culling through some things and such. So today is for the little children, and maybe even for us to be mindful as well, right? To take care of that, because we know that time is fleeting and short, and tomorrow is the big day, right? El Dia de los Muertos. So what would you suggest? What would you recommend? What would you have people do, especially tomorrow being November 2nd?
I would say try to have a story time with your family. If family is someone that you're close to, and if not, people who have become your family. Share stories, because that is how we keep our ancestors alive, like in our minds, is with stories. And I know with my family, that's something that has kind of lost and fallen out.
Right.
We go through the motions, but nobody wants to tell their story or their story.
Do you see what this card says?
Don't miss this opportunity. It's your time. Oh, woof.
Right?
Now or never.
Now's the time. Yeah, exactly. I think we do need to get back to that time. And considering you watched how many episodes of Lovecraft Country?
I was able to watch 9 before the HBO Max like got all funky and didn't let me watch the finale.
Okay, so you're gonna get to the finale.
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't that bring some things to mind, especially?
Oh my God.
Especially speaking about ancestors and ancestry and blood relations, and your blood relations don't necessarily have to be people that look like you, right? Or that you even have any quote unquote perceived connection to, that you think that if you go far back enough, and I think I said this earlier, you know, you might find out, you know, you and I, we might have been sisters, and we're not talking about necessarily a past life connection in that sense. We're just talking about lineages that have passed down through the centuries. And then you know, enough cross-referencing and be like, oh my gosh, Sterling and I are brother and sister. Like, whoa. And not just saying it in like the spiritual sense, like, holy shit, like, what? You know, that's what's so fascinating about this. And like I said, I was reluctant to watch Lovecraft Country, but I think that program has exposed should. Yes.
Like, yes. As much as it as it is promoted as like a very sci-fi
Yeah,
like folklore, it is very human. It is about the human condition, the good and the ugly.
yeah, exactly. And how it has affected everyone,
Mm-hmm.
right? No matter what side, if there are sides.
Yeah, that's where it gets really iffy, like because it turns out, maybe they are all a family and
Right, exactly. They're all family, with different destinies. We'll put it to you that way, right? So this day, we talked about so much. We talked about the language of the flowers and the ofrenda and the connections that we have. And one of the things well, those who watch me, that I always have a piece of this is ancestry for me, right? This is language for me. Like you have the skulls, yeah, that tell the stories. Our textiles tell our stories. I don't know if I can get this in. Kind of show that a bit, right? This is from the Sanofu tribe, from the Ivory Coast, and then this is from Mali.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Boglafini, and then there's Kente. So that's 3 countries I just named, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is it possible that one person can have a connection with all of that? Because it is possible, right? It is possible. So, wow. The ancestors let us record this without any interruption. Are you kidding me? Keep your fingers crossed.
Right?
Fingers and
They might the phone or something, or Nakia like
I know, maybe, that's what they wanted. They wanted that. And sometimes that was a reminder that no matter um, how relaxed we think we can be and such like that we still, you still have to pay a level of respect. You still have to do something. And if it's just a matter of saying that prayer, saying thank you, honoring them, because it's like, hey, you're talking about us and this is supposed to be our day, and what are you doing and all of that. So I really appreciated that. I just wanted us to have this discussion today so that, because I know the hype is Halloween and Day of the Dead, but there are a lot of people, what I have seen, who really don't understand the whole premise of the Day of the Dead and the reason why. And I think I also mentioned 2 children's shows, movies. Coco was one, and Kubo,
Kubo and the Two Strings.
1 or 2 strings, which was Japanese, and that's a show that was based on the ancestry of the Japanese, yeah, and Coco, the ancestry of the Latino, and that, and just that, those may be children's programs, but that's real. You know what I'm saying? So for a lot of people who can't wrap their head around connecting to their ancestry and wondering, why should I do this? Why should I connect to my ancestry? Number one is because nobody wants to be forgotten at the end of the day, right? When you die, unless you've done it before you die, someone else is going to write your obituary, right?
What about you?
Yeah. And you might say, frankly, I don't give a damn what they write about me. Well, no, I don't, but I really don't. But I'm going to be one of those ancestors that if you don't write something good about me,
Burn the newspaper stand.
there is nothing that you'll be able to light up, put down, surround yourself with. I'm speaking this while I'm alive. That's going to keep me from you.
Amount of smudge will keep us. Will keep Queen from finding whoever writes her obituary.
Yes.
No santo, no copal, no sage.
Nothing. No. Yeah, exactly. Nothing like that. So, see, I told you someone's coming in the back door. I tell you, a lot of activity, a lot of activity. Okay. What else do we have, Christina?
Well, I mean, you wanted to talk about the decks, so you referred to them a little bit.
Yeah.
They're more related to the pop culture version.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about the Day of the Dead because that's what's going on today. Do you
Right.
feel that ancestor worship has been modified or treated the same way coming from like African traditional religions as well?
Well, we don't call it worship.
Okay.
That's the first thing. We say reverence,
Okay.
right? I think ancestor reverence has not reached the mainstream.
Okay.
Just okay. And yes, only through popular culture are people exposed to the idea of revering the ancestors. Other than that, they really wouldn't even have the concept of what that means, because there's going to be excuses as to why should I.
Yeah.
That person was abusive. We don't know the stories. Stories aren't shared. I don't know my ancestry. Uh, I don't know where I come from. I'm struggling really hard with all of that. Um, that was the past. I want to forget it. So many excuses. But you have to remember, we come from all of that as well. And until ancestor reverence becomes more popular, I think we're just going to be doing it here in pockets, such like that. Okay. Um, Also, what was on the tip of my tongue? They don't want me to speak today.
Even though they've come up a few times saying, remember.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Hmm.
Well,
Just like
you
that.
little girls,
Came in,
weird
came out.
things.
I know, you know, just like that. It was here.
Mhm.
Hmm. She comes up again.
Hmm. There you go. A female ancestor.
Uh-huh. Okay. Oh boy. And that one. So there's somebody.
This
This
one
message
come
is
up.
for someone. I know. I know. You know what I mean? Like who? They have a birthday or an ascended day coming up, pour libations. So that's something that needs to be done. So anyone who's seeing this message, quote unquote, if this resonates with you,
Somebody.
along with that one, need to do something. You need to do something for those on the other side. You need to do something for our loved ones, because that's where our strength comes from. And now, especially nowadays, we need all of that. We
Mhm.
need everything that's there, everything we can tap into. I know I'm just waffling right now. I swear there was something I just felt, it felt urgent when I thought of it. And
Is it a
this
remembering about you were talking about ancestors not knowing where you came from,
that I
feeling
know, paying reverence.
feeling detached from who you are.
Hmm. Oh, I know. Now I know. Um, Probably the reason why people have a hard time thinking of and wanted to connect with the ancestors, because we have to thank the cinema and Hollywood
Mm.
for the perceived or the notion of what it is to deal with the deceased,
Mhm.
right? And we live in a society that puts our deceased off into a plot somewhere,
Yeah.
away, right? Um, but we have to remember there are, we talk about this, they're more beneath the horizon than above it. So they're more,
They really were against this. We'd all be done.
yeah. Okay. And I think maybe that's part of the reason why it's hard for people to make that connection or establish that connection with their ancestors, because they think, oh, this person's going to pop up you know, like the ghost of Mrs. Muir. They're going to make things fall off the shelf. Well, you know, it's possible. Disrupt your sleep. It's possible. Make the lights go in and out. It's possible. Sure.
The first day I worked at the store, a giant statue fell on my head.
Yeah.
And it was because I did not greet the store, like welcome myself to the Fox family. I was just like, fine, okay.
I told you, part of the rite of passage is for you to go down into the basement. You know, I'm telling you. Gotta go to the basement, you know?
What happens in there, you know? Now, another thing that I know is popularized in media is, you know, you can't do things in a graveyard because that's like cursed ground. The entire earth is a graveyard.
Right, exactly. It truly
recently have we had designated plots that have maintained. And everywhere is a graveyard.
Right.
So
I know. We do have to be mindful about going into cemeteries and getting graveyard dirt per se. I think Amber and I were talking about this a little bit. Family plots, and you have to think, if you have a family plot, would you want an outsider to come and take anything from that family plot? No, right? From your land, no. So we have to be mindful about that as well. We have to be mindful of what we're taking energetically. I mean, the whole, like you said, the whole planet is a graveyard, right where we sit. So you don't have to go too far to get graveyard dirt. Number one. But then you also want to pay attention to like what that dirt is bringing forth. Right. So I'm going to throw a little bit of woo-woo out there. If there's vegetation and growth, then that's good earth. That's good dirt. If there's been a building that has been, if there's destruction and nothing is growing, depending on your working, that's another kind of dirt too. See? Yeah, just, oh, you mean I don't have to go to a graveyard?
Cindy's coming out a new girl.
All right, you know, so just those two little tidbits right there. Yeah, there's so much information around us, you know. The same thing with our candles. Many of our ancestors, when they had candles, you know, it was made from tallow, and B, it didn't come in colors. They worked with
they worked with what they had.
Yeah, right. So don't, you know, when I hear people say they can't do this, that, and the third because they're limited. I can't go to the ocean because I don't live near the ocean. I can't go out in nature because I don't live near nature. Well, you can bring nature home. See? You can do that. This is actually doing, babies are coming out. Look at that.
Oh.
Yeah. Right? Little babies. I have in the back room of the store. I always have plants around me. These.
Oh, another thing that we were talking about, and I guess it can kind of also go with the plants as well. If you have things that are on your altar, because sometimes we'll have plants, like near our photos, near family photos throughout the year. And if the plants start getting sick or dying, I mean, it could just be you're not taking care of them.
Right.
But it could also be that there's something that is being neglected, a message or a relationship.
Right.
Same with food offerings too.
Exactly.
Like if it spoils like this, there's something going on there.
There's something going on. You know, when you step into that realm of working with the ancestors, you are stepping into a portal, so to speak. So you don't want to take that relationship for granted. It can't be just, I'm going to put this up and have water on my altar and the water gets stagnant or dries out, or food and it just, you know, it stays there and gets moldy. You are establishing a living viable connection. See, now that my, yeah. Okay, am I talking too much? I guess I'm talking too much, right?
Are they catching your tongue again?
Yes, and you know that card did come up about speaking all
Yeah.
of that. What happens? Yeah, right. Um, yeah. So yeah. So to break it down, today, El Dia de los Angelitos, the little children. Tomorrow, El Dia de los Muertos. This is for everybody across the board, right? Remember those who have gone before us. If you don't know who they are, just say to my ancestors, known and unknown, I welcome you. I honor you. Please come in. Share your stories. Tell me your stories. Come to me in my dreams and tell me your stories. I want to get to know you. Yeah. And then for those of you who have families, sit and talk, share your stories. Back in the day, that's what we did before we had television and all of that. You sat around and have family discussions. This is how you learn about each other. It's just unfortunate that like a lot of pain caused people to not want to tell their stories and such. But we need to reestablish that, you know. Um, and remember that your family is not necessarily just blood family. Okay, it could be the close connections that you have with certain people who come into your life as well, right? Those are your family. Like I consider you my family, and Sterling's my family. Um,
How about
yeah.
that fur ball behind you? Is she your family?
Yeah, she's my family. Mm-hmm. See how relaxed she is?
Mm-hmm.
That's when she was set. Like that's crazy. So yeah, and here's the thing. Ancestor reverence. Now here's the thing with family. It doesn't mean that you have to make nice.
Mm-mm.
You just don't. Sometimes self-preservation warrants that you disconnect from that family member. This is not about you subjecting yourself to abuse just because it's family. Okay, don't get it twisted like that. But the healing has to begin with you. And sometimes, even those who have passed on may have been abusive. Like I said, to my ancestors known and unknown, I know you're part of me, but you're not an energy I'm going to tap into. That, you know what I'm saying? That is just something for me personally. I'm not going to, I have no desire to tap into a slave master and the slave traders. I have no desire for that. But I know I respect them as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
as they were at that moment. Um, but that's it. And that's the only relationship that I have with them. So I want people to understand you don't have to. You dealt with someone who transitioned, who was abusive. That's part of that's the healing process that you have to go through as well. You may hate them, but you don't have any room. I don't have any room in my heart for that, to hate those who came before me. I mean, I'm human. I have a few people in this life that I truly dislike, and I admit that because I'm human. But for those in the past, I don't hold any hatred, but I'm indifferent. I put it to you that way, and I know that I share blood with them through unfortunate circumstances, but they are in that line of ancestry. And maybe one day when I become an ancestor, all of us can sit and talk, and I can maybe get a better understanding why they made the decisions that they did. Right? Yeah.
If they write a good obituary.
Yes, exactly, exactly. But even for my ancestors that passed, if when I get to the other side, uh, yeah, that's a fantasy
Mm-hmm.
because you just don't know, right? My greatest hope is that I become an ancestor, that I'm there, to be of service to those who are still on this side. But the Most High, Olodumare, might have something else in mind for me.
I can see you with the spiritual 3x4. Oh yeah, I got another one. Whoopsh.
Yeah, me cracking that whip. Yeah. I know. So yeah. Um, I feel a melancholy now. Something just like that feeling just came over me. It's like a feeling of peace, but it's a sad peace.
Mhm.
I, as opposed to where I was earlier this morning, feeling a little, yeah,
Mhm.
angst and anxiety. Now I feel at peace, not resigned, but like everything's going to be okay.
Mhm.
We got you. Everything's going to be okay. So, all right. Christina, do you want to close us out?
You know what? Let's do that.
All right.
So I'm just gonna get the candle because that's that's what I'm used to. Okay.
Okay.
So to all of our ancestors, known and unknown, los olvidados, los desaparecidos, the ones that are forgotten and who have disappeared. We share this time with you now. We want to share your stories because they are part of who we are and what stories we will tell our children and our grandchildren and what they will tell, so on and so forth. Let us share in who we are and in who you are as well. And in that, let us move back and move forward. May we know you as you know us. Thank you.
Ashe. Thank you.
Bendiciones.
All right, Christina. Let's say goodbye.
All right.
Bye.
We
We're
just keep doing this.
gonna stop this recording.
All right. I do this with my kids too. Bye. As I'm like trying to hit the button and stuff.